Los Angeles Coliseum, getting ready for the second half of our high school football doubleheader on this Friday night in the City of Angels. Second half will be Taft and San Pedro coming up the 4A championship. And we're talking football right now between games as the teams are down on the field warming up. And joining us right now from the Los Angeles Daily News sports section is fine writer who covers high school football, Gary Washburn. And Gary, we talked about the first game a bit with Tony Jones. Let's talk a little bit about this second game. This is a rematch of a game that was taking place about a year ago, about this time of year. In that game, it was a two-point outcome, a very emotional, dramatic finish to that one. How does that set the scene for tonight's action?
I think it makes this one even a better game than last year. Taft has a lot to prove, but I think all the pressure's on them this year. They've gone undefeated, the number one seed. San Pedro was picked 6. They weren't favored to come back here. They lost a lot of points from last year's team, so I would say all the pressure's on Taft. But last year, even leaves a taste in the mouth of Taft players. They want to go back and get it this year.
Obviously, Gary, it's interesting because in high school sports, some of the players change year to year, so it's not really a rematch per se, but a rematch between the two schools that both want that win, want the championship. And I know in talking to the coaches during the week, this game means a lot, not only on the field, but also to the schools. They feel proud, and they feel good about their school when they win.
Yeah, I mean, these are two football schools that have grown in the last few years kind of identically. I mean, 5 or 6 years ago, neither school was really much in their respective conferences. They met in '92 for the 3A title game, and it was kind of a stepping stone for both programs. Both programs grew after that, and identically, it's kind of grown. And it's no surprise that with two great coaches that we've seen tonight, that both teams are here again.
It's kind of interesting, and I might be wrong, but it seems to me that high school football has really grown in the last few years, maybe the last 6 or 7 or 8 years, all over Los Angeles and in the Valley. Maybe it's because the NFL's gone or whatever it might be, but do you get that same feeling? I see your picture in the paper covering a lot of high school games.
Yeah, I think it has grown. I think it's because a lot of the traditional teams have kind of fallen, and some of these new schools and new teams have played well and made championship games. I mean, Taft and some of the, it's not Carson Bannon every year anymore, and I think that all those years, a lot of the fans were left out because they didn't support any of those schools. Now you've got a lot of new players, a lot of new schools, a lot of good players spreading out all over the Los Angeles area and going to different schools. I think that makes things interesting.
We're getting set to go, and of course, Gary, I hope you enjoy the rest of the game. Thanks for visiting with us here at halftime at the Coliseum, and we enjoy reading the Daily News.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. We'll have a good time.
That's Gary Washburn from the Daily News, and now let's go down to the floor of the LA Coliseum and Gary Bose.
Well, guys, I have the winning coach, 3A City Champ coach, Rick Hayashida. Rick, you made it look easy out there today. What was the key to your success?
Well, I don't think it was that easy, or at least it didn't appear so easy to me. Defensively, we played off strong again. Last 3 playoff games and the championship game, our defense has really come up big, and I think that's one of the big things that, again, the reason why we won today.
Now, early in the game, you left at halftime with a 14-point lead, shutting out Carson for the first half. What did you tell your guys to keep them motivated to win?
Well, we've watched an awful lot of film on Carson. We know they're explosive. Their offensive line is awfully big. They have some quick running backs, quick receivers. Quarterback throws the ball real well. We knew they were never out of the ball game. We, always respect, our opponents, and, Carson's a big-time football program, and, we knew it'd be tough all the way to the fourth quarter.
And one thing that was also very impressive about your team, within that 30-yard line, that red zone, so to speak, you guys sought out that end zone. What did you get to get those guys to pinpoint that end zone?
Our kids have been awfully hungry. They've been looking for this, 4 weeks ago, and I think just wanted it. They really wanted it, and they took it for themselves, and that's why we won the game.
Well, now this might be a little bit early, but let me know right now. You're going to be repeating next year. You're going to be here this time next year.
I can't give myself a kiss of death, but we're going to work hard, hopefully.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Coach. Back to Randy.
All right, thank you very much, Gary, and happy gentleman downstairs. Rick Hayashida winning the championship, and maybe he will indeed return here next year, maybe in the 4A division. They dominated the 3A this season. We're joined by Eric Sonheimer of the Los Angeles Times. It's a big game if Eric's here, and Eric's here. So, Eric, first of all, were you stunned with that 42 zip on the board in game 1?
Not really. I didn't think El Camino belonged in the 3A division. They clearly just dominate this division. I think most of the players and the coaches wanted to play in 4A. Unfortunately, they got stuck in the 3A, and they just kind of manhandled everybody. I mean, this was a team that was 4-0 early in the season. People thought they were going to win the Northwest Valley Conference or at least challenge Taft. If Taft wins the City 4A tie, I think they should have a game next week to decide the champion of Woodland Hills, even though Taft beat them at the end of the regular season. But the El Camino team really has a lot of talent. Quincy Wright was outstanding tonight, and I was really impressed with the El Camino defense also.
After what you saw tonight, how would have El Camino done in the 4A? They looked like a team on a mission in the 3A, but when you step up in the 4A, it might have been a little bit different.
Right. I mean, I think El Camino could have won a game or two in the 4A, and I still don't understand why they got put in 3A and Canoga Park was put in the 4A. I think the coaches really made a blunder in that move, and but that's in the past, and we got to congratulate them for winning a 3A title.
Eric never holds back. He tells you what he believes, and that's a good thing. That's why he's one of the top sports writers in Southern California. Eric, let's move ahead to this game. We're getting all the sports writers' thoughts on the contest. Taft, it's a revenge game, although their head coach, Troy Starr, says we don't think about revenge, we think about winning the championship. But it is a revenge game because they haven't beaten San Pedro when it counts.
Right. For a year now at Taft High School, the coach's office, they've had a picture with the score of last year's game, 22-20 San Pedro, hanging in that office building, so it's used as motivation. What's interesting is this is the first game in 4 weeks of the playoffs where they're all playing on a dry field. And both of these teams have been great mudder teams. San Pedro pulled out wins against Fremont and Westchester in the mud. And last week, Taft was able to beat Sylmar in the mud. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens on a dry field. I give Taft the edge this year because they're a little more balanced, whereas last year San Pedro had the balance. This year San Pedro is primarily a running team, and Taft has one of the quickest defenses around. I think their linebacker core in Tyler Brennan and David Mello are outstanding, and I think they're going to have a hard time moving the ball against Taft, and where Taft's offense can really explode with Cedric Hearns or Marquise Brignac and Alvarado. I think it's the key of the game. If he has a solid game and doesn't make any turnovers, Taft, no doubt, is going to win this game.
Do you ever remember a football team like Taft in the Valley with this much pure speed, both offensively and defensively?
Well, defensively, they're very fast. That's what they're built around. They don't have that much size. And certainly, they've only lost one game in the last 2 years, and that was the San Pedro, so they really have a great run going on. Many of these players were on last year's team. They certainly have the psychological edge, but San Pedro has a great coach, and Coach Walsh. I mean, he's done a terrific job. I was there 5 years ago in the 3A final between Taft and San Pedro. You had two young coaches going at it, and you saw then that these were the programs on the rise, and certainly they deserve to be here. What's interesting, I think this is a game between the two best teams in the city. There's no doubt about it, and sometimes that doesn't always happen, but today we'll find out who the best team is in the city.
Well, Eric, thank you for your thoughts. Continued success at the L.A. Times.
Thank you very much, Ray.
All right, Gary Bose, it was not a good first game for Anthony Davis, the Carson Colt football player, but the other Anthony Davis had some magnificent games here at the Coliseum, and the real AD is with our Gary Bose.
That's right, guys. I have Anthony Davis, AD, here. Now, you were a Trojan and played many successful games here. What brings you here tonight?
Well, first of all, I'm out here because this is a great cause, and a company by the name of Harlan Company asked me to come out and be a part of this and support the ARCO A&PM thing for these 3A and 4A championships this weekend.
Now, these young fellows out here playing in the Coliseum have to, come over with memory. What does the Coliseum bring back to you in your memory?
Well, first of all, I mean, my great days, 1972 against Notre Dame, and the Notre Dame game, 1974.
That's right, when you ran that opening kickoff back at the halftime. The Trojans were down, I think.
That's right, 24-6.
That's right, that's right. Now, you're also a successful businessman as well. What did athletics do to help you in your future career as a business person?
Well, basically, it's just a foundation. It set the foundation, it set discipline, and it set goals, and that's what I did from that. And I think athletics is a key thing to young kids today, and that's what it did for me.
Tell me, why do you think it's important also for parents, and even if you're not a parent, for adults to be involved in youth athletes like this?
Well, you have to. I mean, kids look up to adults and guys like me and people in my situation, and they look for leadership. And we got to build leaders for tomorrow, and it started right on the athletic field.
Now, in your days back in high school, when you were fighting for a city championship, what was going through your mind at the time? What are these little kids thinking about?
Oh, well, God, it's bringing back some memory. I just saw the 3A game here, and it reminds me of 1970 when I playing against Granada Hills. And, we lost that game 38-28, but then the great thrill of trying to compete and win that championship.
So the fact that you were here made it all the difference in the world, really?
Oh, yes. I mean, definitely. I mean, when I was at Seminole High School, I never thought I would even be in a championship game, let alone going the heights I've had from collegiate and professionally. But looking back at high school and watching these kids tonight, this brings back great memories.
Now, we got a repeat match coming up this second game, Taft against San Pedro. You got any predictions on that one?
Well, let me tell you, first of all, Taft is from the Valley area, and I'm from the Valley, and someone asked me, well, who you going for, Taft? I said, well, no, I mean, I'm going to be partial because, San Pedro, some of my ex-teammates from San Pedro, and Taft's from the Valley, so I'm going to be very partial, be neutral with that.
Either way it goes, it's going to be an excellent game, I'm sure.
Oh, great game. I see some talent already out there. Guys, these guys are something else. These guys are like they can play on the college level right now.
Excellent. Well, Anthony Davis, good to see you again. Thank you very much. Good. Back to the booth.
All right, thanks, guys. Always good to see Anthony Davis. What splendid moments we remember from AD, especially in that USC victory over Notre Dame. Now, we want to get a San Pedro perspective here, and the guy to do that is Gregory Gaza from the news pilot in San Pedro. And, Gregory, can you draw a comparison to the Pirates championship team of last year, maybe the team that was the runner-up 2 years ago, to this season's finalist?
Yes, completely different team. I mean, last year they relied more on the pass. Melvin Yarbrough, a great quarterback. This year, I mean, they're going to run a lot. They've only thrown about 22 passes in the last 7 weeks. Their starting quarterback, Rashad Armstrong, has. So they don't throw that much. And they went into the wing C now. So basically, you'll see them run a lot with Holman Wiggins, a good runner, Anthony Ramos, Raymond Moreno. All three of those guys will be a force tonight.
You mentioned their offense. Now, I know they lost to Washington, which shocked a lot of people. It's their only loss this year. The Pirates are 12-1. And then Coach Walsh, Mike Walsh, changed his offense. Talk about what they had and what they changed to.
Well, I mean, they basically had the regular passing offense, and they were kind of struggling. They lost to Washington in week number 5. It was a kind of a transition week for them. And they changed their offense to the wing C. And since then, they haven't lost. I mean, Narbonne runs the wing C. And Taft could have trouble defending it tonight. I mean, they're going to have to make some adjustments.
What's the key in defending the wing, too?
You got
double wing.
Yeah, you got to be quick, and you got to know where the ball's going. I mean, because it goes a lot of ways, there's reverses. Sometimes it's hard to see who's carrying the ball. And the San Pedro offensive line will make it much more difficult tonight because they've got a strong offensive line. 4 out of the 5 guys are back from last year. So, I mean, it's an experienced offensive line also.
In Mike Walsh, they have one of the